So yeah, let's get started laying down. We're gonna spend a lot of time close to the ground today because it's extremely freaking hot outside, and there's something about just allowing your body to kind of settle into the ground that is deeply cooling, in my opinion. I just think often about like how good it feels to lay down in some cool grass, on some stone in the woods somewhere. Maybe even imagining laying down like at the edge of the lake with my feet in the water, and the rest of me kind of up on land. So just starting with Shavasana this morning, if that feels okay with your lower back. And if your lower back is feeling a little bit sore or tight, you might place the soles of your feet on the ground and point your knees up for constructive rest. So today we will move really slowly, I think. We're going to focus on that strengthening bit of our dignity muscles, but also a whole lot of stretching and movement, mobility exercises for our hips and for our lower back. So just getting started with a little bit of a check-in with yourself and noticing where you are. And how you are feeling today. What your breathing is like today. And just taking a little bit of time. And as you take notice of your bones, your muscles, your meat suit in general, just make any adjustments that feel like they would be helpful to you, maybe a slight rearrangement of the arms or the legs. And then we'll take a little bit of time just to acknowledge like the buzz of energy underneath the surface. So doing your very best here to kind of name it, if possible. On hot days, sometimes that buzz of energy for me is like, ugh, or frustration or something like that. And sometimes the buzz of energy is grateful or hopeful or something like that. There are zero wrong answers here. So just taking kind of a look inside and observing and naming what you sort of walk into your practice with. And then over the course of the next 10 breaths, just stretch out as far as you can. Maybe your arms reach out past your head. Maybe your feet sort of slide away from each other. If you've been in constructive rest, you might play with extending those legs out long. And just feel the air touch the surface of your skin all over your body, wherever your skin is exposed. Maybe sensing a little bit of a breeze. That movement of air. And then notice the parts of your body touching the ground. Okay, what's holding you? notice your lower belly now and your lower back. And for the next few breaths, notice how the low belly and low back move. And maybe you deepen your breaths a little bit, or you sort of lengthen them a bit so that your belly and your back get to experience a little bit of that breath movement. One more breath. Okay. And then from here, if your arms are overhead, bring them back alongside you. We're going to take the soles of the feet back down to the ground. Let's cross the right ankle over the left knee and just take a figure four shape. And before you potentially pick up that left leg, take your right fingertips and see if you can kind of just touch the surface of your skin around your right hip here. And so you might like grab a hold of your hip crease, kind of squeeze the outer hip. Maybe you're kind of digging your fingertips in around the back, your glutes there, noticing how that feels. And taking it real slow, starting with that bit of touch. And then, when you feel ready, you might hug that left thigh in towards your belly. Good. Feel your right hip. Notice your breathing. Does your breathing become a little bit more shallow? And if so, try to deepen it a touch. And last breath or two. Alrighty, and then go ahead and set that left foot back down on the floor if it's lifted. Unwind the legs. And we're going to grab a hold of either a block or your bolster. Either one is totally fine. And slide it underneath your pelvis for a bridge pose. So nice, easy-going restorative bridge pose. I'd like to maybe consider hanging out here for like 2 or 3 minutes. And I have a real slow, real easygoing class in mind for today. With your hips elevated on that bolster, up on that block, just notice how things are feeling up in your head and neck and your shoulders. Do your little scooching or rocking or whatever it takes so that part of your body feels uncrunched and generally comfortable. You could keep both knees pointed up. You might extend those legs out long if you're feeling it. We are going to revisit this pose. So just know that, you can stay here this whole time. Go for something slightly bigger in a little bit, if that suits you. And so really just enjoying this small inversion, this little bit of time where your hips are up above your heart. And wiggle your jaw, settle your eyes. And just breathe. Good morning. we'll take about 5 more breaths here. With those breaths, you could hold still, or you might consider a gentle rock side to side with either your pelvis or your head and neck. Moving your sacrum, moving the skull. These are really, really soothing actions. At least for me. All right. One more big breath here. And then go ahead and set your pelvis back down on the ground. And we're going to take that figure 4 over to the other side. So the left ankle is going to cross over the right knee. And before you hug that right thigh in towards the chest, yeah, just a little like, I don't know, left hand to left hip action, squeezing the glute maybe. You're kind of grabbing a hold of the side of your hip. Instead of here, you want the wrap. Yeah, good. Just kind of feeling it out. Oh, you have this. I'll give you a bolster though. I don't have. You're good. Alright, and then go ahead, yeah, and hug that left thigh, the right thigh, excuse me, in towards your chest. You are welcome. Alright, and just breathe here. Notice how that left hip feels. And how what you're feeling in that hip might kind of translate out into other areas. Down into the low back. And maybe down the leg, towards the knee. Everything is connected. Nothing is separate. And just let your breath be as big as it can be here, as relaxed as it can be. And as slow as it can be. And one more breath here. And then go ahead and just unwind from this. Release both feet down to the ground. Let's come back into that restorative bridge pose. With your hips up above your heart a little bit. Then you can choose to keep your knees bent like you did before. You might extend those legs out long this time if that feels like the right thing for your hips and low back this morning. Another option is to just gently draw the knees in towards the belly and take an Apanasana. Thank you. And about 10 more breaths here. One more big breath. And let's rebend those knees. Soles of the feet come back down to the ground. Great. You can choose to keep your hips up here on the bolster or up on your block. But we're just going to extend that right foot up towards the ceiling. The sole of the left foot's going to stay grounded here. And we're going to make some circles with the right foot up on the ceiling. those circles can be any size, right? Maybe those circles are really big, maybe those circles are like little tiny circles. Just sort of tracing the outline of your hip socket with your thigh bone. And noticing how your knee feels, how your ankle feels, and if you're gripping your foot. And a few more deep breaths. Let's go the other direction. All right, and then let's find the strap and wrap it around the bottom of your right foot. And if you want to, you can just clasp the back of the thigh. There's, no wrong way to stretch through the back of the leg here. If you have the strap wrapped around your foot, just make sure that your shoulders are nice and relaxed down towards the ground. There isn't a lot of effort in the upper body. And then, maybe you want to roll your ankle around a little bit, or point and flex your foot, or move the strap side to side to wake up the sole of the foot. And we'll stay here for about 15 breaths or so. Just finding a little bit of length through the back of this right leg. And last couple of breaths. All right, and then from here, we are going to cross that right thigh over the left thigh, coming into sort of like a shoelaces pose on the back or an eagle pose on the back. And we've done this a number of times in class before, where it's like this big full body squeeze. So first, you're just thinking about pressing the sole of the left foot into the ground. And then squeeze that right thigh into the left thigh. Go ahead, squeeze your glutes. Press the mid back into the ground. And then, if you want to, you could cross arms over your chest. That's a thought, too. Good, head and neck, kind of relaxed, maybe even rocking them side to side so that, so that your jaw doesn't clench. Another big breath. And then let's go ahead and release that. Let's extend those legs out long. Let's extend those arms out past the head. Big stretch here. And maybe 10 breaths. So you can choose to hold still here. Just sort of notice the air in your skin again. You might pump the feet a little bit, grounding the back of your body, this gentle rocking motion. But no matter where you are, just try to pay attention to your own breath, the way it feels today. Good. One more big inhale. And an exhale. And then let's re-bend those knees, arms alongside the body. This time the sole of the right foot will be down on the ground. That left foot's going to go up. And we'll start to make those circles with the left foot on the ceiling. Good. Just noticing that hip, your lower back. Good. Making those circles as small or as big as your body is sort of asking for. is always like pop and crack city. Oh, all kinds of sounds. And so notice the sounds that your own body is making, including your breathing. And then we'll take those circles in the other direction, just a few. Good. And then eventually just kind of slow your roll. That left foot's going to stay up. Let's loop the strap around the bottom of the left foot or clasp behind the left thigh. Yeah, and we'll just sort of hang out here for a moment, feeling into the back of that left leg. Noticing the foot, maybe dragging that strap side to side. Yeah, nice big breaths. Breaths that suit you. Oh, goodness, I'm so sorry. Better you than me. It's me. As you feel the back of that left leg, notice the low back, notice the low belly, shoulders, head and neck. Just a handful of breaths more. Alright, and then from here, let's cross that left thigh over the right thigh. And start that big press. So pressing the right foot into the ground. And then squeeze the thighs together. Good. Press the mid back into the ground. And maybe cross those arms if that feels supportive. Like a good thing. And try to breathe through the nose here if possible as you squeeze and squeeze. And last couple of breaths. A big squeeze. Alright, let it go. Unwind. Let's send those legs out nice and long here. And I think just for now, we're going to sort of leave our upper body in the same place. And we're going to kind of take half banana just with the lower body. So let's slide that right heel all the way over. And then slide your left heel as far over as it can go. If crossing your ankles feels good, go for it. I'm just looking for a little bit of a stretch through that left hip and the low belly. And if you get there and you're not feeling a whole lot, you could scoot the upper body over to the right. But I would like to maybe have this not be as much of like a shoulder stretch as it is a low belly and kind of hip situation. Go ahead, settle in. About a minute and a half here. And, oh yeah, belly rubs. If you want to, you could always rub your hands over your low belly. Maybe even focus in strictly on that left hip point and sort of press in with your fingertips all around that hip point, kind of palpating. Or the other option is to just hold still, to just settle. For these last 7 or 8 breaths, notice your tailbone and what's going on around your tailbone. If there's any clenching happening, if there's any sensation there. Your tailbone and your sacrum. Okay, let's come back through to the center. As you come back through to the center, you could pull the knees into the chest if your low back is sort of asking for that kind of counter movement. You might keep the legs out long and just sort of hold still in Shavasana if you want to. Another nice option is a bridge pose, an active bridge pose. So y'all know the drill. Pressing into the feet, lifting up the hips, kind of squeezing the glutes enough, but not like cracking walnuts kind of enough. You know, like there should be a slight bit of softness to your glutes. And feet doing some of the work, and also those muscles that surround your spine, especially in the middle of your back. If you are up in this bridge pose, let your belly really stretch out with the inhale. And then sink back down with your exhale. And we'll just take a couple more breaths wherever you are. Okay, go ahead and roll that spine back down to the ground. Oh, if it's lifted, pelvis sets down, legs extend out long again if the knees are bent. Good, if you want to rearrange your upper body a little bit, rock the shoulders for a moment, head and neck to relieve tension from that bridge pose. Now would be a good time. But then eventually we're going to slide the heels over to the left, taking that sort of like half banana shape. If you want to cross one ankle over the other, it's an option. And maybe like leaving your feet apart. Good, and then just take notice of your pelvis and how it feels in that space today. Imagining that like your pelvis is kind of the center of this sphere of sorts that kind of goes down into your thighs and up into your belly and even up to the ribs. And noticing how it feels all the way around. Good, front to back and side to side. And top to bottom. A few more deep breaths here, maybe giving yourself that bit of a belly rub. Alright, and then when you feel good and ready, start to bring those legs back to center. Good, ease it towards the chest. Maybe a happy baby if you like happy baby. So knees wide to frame the chest or the belly. Good, you could reach up for the feet if that feels like a thing. Alrighty, and then from here, we're just going to place the soles of those feet back down on the ground. I'm going to roll on over to our right side with either a block or a bolster underneath your head. Your knees are going to be bent here, just for a moment, before we start to kind of swing things around a little bit. Good. So as you get settled into this kind of curled up in a ball on your side position, this fetal position, notice how your back body feels. And maybe think about sending a few of your breaths specifically into the back of the body, specifically to move the back of the body. Almost as if you're doing like some cat poses while on your side, just with your breath. Good. Filling up your whole lung, the backs of your lungs, the bottoms of your lungs with your breath. Good. 3 more breaths here. Alright, and then from here, we are going to take that left knee and just sort of separate it from that right knee. Just sort of hover it above. Right, so that lower leg is hovering above, the knee is hovering. Good, and then from here, extend that left leg out long in front of you and kind of flex through that foot. Good, and then you can re-bend the knee. And then we're going to send that left leg long behind, or the knee can remain bent. And we're just going to kind of swing through this, extending that left leg out long in front. Good. So just noticing your glutes and noticing your hip flexors as you go. My jaw just did a thing like, what are you doing to me? So if your jaw is also doing a thing, let it wiggle a little bit. And then you might take some circles here. And so circles with the knee. My knee is bent. If you feel like extending the leg out long, you might, but it's it's totally an option. So really just a few of these. However you end up, it's fine. Good, and then go ahead and just set that that left knee back down on the right knee, fetal position, and sort of kind of like shake your lower body so that your hips are rocking a little bit. You're sort of rocking towards the knees and then back towards your butt a little bit. A little wiggle of that low body. Good, a few more deep breaths here. And then let's roll over onto our back, leaving the block just where it is. Extend those legs out long. Take a moment. Rock your head side to side. And you're leaving some of that scalp tension, some of that base of the skull tension. And soften around your eyes. Soften the corners, the inner corners of the eyes. And your lips too. Relax your tongue, your teeth. And a few more breaths. Alright, and then let your head be nice and still here on the block. And just take your fingertips to the sides of your head, to the top of your head, and give yourself like a little massage here. Just a little, either like a scratching action, or just some little circles with your fingertips, Or maybe you want to rake your fingers through your hair in some direction that feels good to you. Think about like your dogs and cats and how they like to be sort of like hold their ears pulled or scratch behind the ears. You can do that to yourself. A few more breaths here. Okay, let's roll over to our left side, eventually rolling over to the left. And stack the knees. Get yourself comfortable. Find that little curl up in a ball position. Good, a few breaths into the low back, down to the area around your kidneys and your adrenal glands. Good, those breaths specifically for the back of your body, if you can direct them there. Alright, and then from here, let's just hover that right leg above the left leg. Just take a moment like this. Okay, feeling that hover, feeling that right leg, your right hip engaging. And then let's extend that right leg out long in front and kind of flex the foot. Again, noticing how that leg is working. The rest of your body is probably working a little bit to support this leg as well. Legs are real heavy. These are not light parts of our bodies. Yeah, but just make sure your jaw is not trying to lift your leg. Relax your jaw. And then we're just going to kind of swing around here. So extending that leg back behind you, bringing it through center, and then maybe you're straightening out that leg out in front of you. All right, moving through a few of these. Good, maybe 3 more if you're still doing it. Right, and then go ahead and set that left leg down on top of the right, and give your lower body a little shake here, a little wiggle. All right, find some stillness. Good, and then we will roll over onto our bellies. Yay! I don't think we're standing up today, guys. Pretty sure that's not in the cards. Yeah, I think we're gonna hang out on our bellies for. I mean, we've got 17 minutes left, and I don't want to do anything abrupt. I feel like we probably need a little bit more grounding and just slowness. So. You're ready, find your belly. Maybe there's a block on your head, maybe not. Maybe your arms are sort of curled up alongside you, or you can rest your head on your hand. And just allow yourself to be here. Good. Notice where the front part of you touches down and what the sensations are like on the front side of your body. And then notice the back of your body rising and falling. Now do your very best, excuse me, to zero in on your tailbone, right, on your glutes, on the muscles underneath the glutes, which I know are sort of hard to
Visualize, but imagine kind of like a little web of muscles that work to move your legs around, that help to keep you upright, that really work to steady you. Let them soften as much as possible. All right, and then let's drag that left knee up towards the left side of the chest, coming into your half frog shape. And in your half frog pose, it might be nice to gently pick up the pelvis and set it back down, so that that right hip and thigh feels good and grounded. Excuse me. And then another nice thing to do might be to scoot your upper body over to the left a little bit so that your elbow moves towards that knee. And it's kind of a big stretch through the right side of your rib cage. Yeah. Yeah, there's like no wrong way to do this. We're just looking for a position where that left knee is bent and your upper body is experiencing at least a little bit of ease. Okay, let's take 10 big breaths here. And another handful of breaths. All right, and then from here, let's bring our upper body back to center. And then, yeah, that left leg's going to extend nice and long behind you. And let's take a moment to kind of tap the tops of the feet on the floor. So you give them a little tap. Okay, that place right in between the big toe and the second toe, maybe making the most contact here if possible. Over two. A little like energetic signal for grounding. Now let's tuck the toes underneath and press back through the heels and kind of lift up those knees too. While you do this, squeeze your glutes. Good, really squeeze them. Good, thigh squeeze. Maybe this is the cracking walnuts kind of squeeze that we're talking about. But then, just let it go. Tops of the feet on the ground, shake your butt side to side. Oh, all that squeezing you were just doing. You let it all kind of dissipate back into the ground. All right, before we move on to half frog on the right, there's one more option for some strengthening, if you want to, which is just simply lifting up both of your legs as much as you can in this sort of half locust pose. So I have my arms tucked under my chest. Good. And this is kind of big for the low back. So if your low back is feeling real sore while doing this, maybe don't do it. Maybe set your legs down. But maybe it feels good. Maybe it feels like it's helping to strengthen you. Maybe just another moment or two with that big squeeze, that big lift. Okay, set it down. Shake the butt side to side. Yeah. And then that right knee is going to slide up towards the right side of the chest. And same thing, half frog. Maybe you're scooting your upper body over to the right, maybe not. Maybe you want to stay in the center, or even turn your head to look away from your Just settle here. Take a few moments. Good. 5 more breaths. All right, perfect. Let's come on out of this. Slide that right leg nice and long behind again. And that rocking in the pelvis. Just one more time. A little shaking of the butt side to side. And then for our next pose is either going to be a crocodile pose with your hands stacked, then your forehead on the backs of the hands, or maybe your elbows underneath your chin and you're sort of resting your chin on your hands. This is a really powerful way to kind of stretch the throat and the connective tissue around the heart. But if neither one of those resonates, Sphinx pose is there too, lifting up onto the elbows. So just, taking your time, you're going to settle in here. And no matter which one you have chosen, really take notice of that lower back, your tailbone, your sacrum, your soft low belly, and then notice your rigid ribs and see if you can kind of walk your ribs away from that low belly just a little bit, creating a tiny stretch, or maybe a big stretch in the front of the body, and a little bit of squeeze around those kidneys. And you can choose to stay right here. Another option is to, from wherever you are, point your toes up towards the ceiling. And maybe rock your legs side to side in a really slow and mindful way. Just remembering that there's no wrong way to do any of this. It's really just a way for us to gather information about our body, to maybe relieve some of the tension that we hold, to build up our bodies where that's needed. And all of these things are just suggestions. The last few breaths here. If you are up on your elbows, go ahead and just slide them out to the sides. Let's settle back down onto the chest. If you've been down here the whole time, turn your head to the other side. And just spend a moment like that. Good. And then we are eventually going to either stay right here for the remainder of practice, or roll over onto your back, or find a seated meditation. So, again, no wrong way to close out. You could do anything. Maybe you want to stretch back into a child's pose or something like that. I just want you to focus on finding the thing that your body is asking for, which is like a kind of a tall order some days. But this is like listening practice, right? We start to listen to our bodies a little bit deeper. becomes a little bit easier with time. Wherever you end up, just bring your awareness back into first kind of the sounds that are going on in the room around you, the space around you. All those ambient sounds of your day. The kettle going, the clock ticking, the cars driving by, birds. And then a little bit of time noticing the sounds that you are making with your own breath, with your physical movements, if you are indeed moving. Good, and then noticing your meat suit again, your physical body, this vessel. Good, breathing a little bit of space into it, a little bit of ease into it. Maybe just for a moment kind of sitting in awe of it and thanking it, your body, for carrying you around for all these years. And then again, just bringing your attention to that kind of underlying buzz of energy, whatever you want to identify that as, just noticing how you are feeling energetically today. If that feels kind of like a mystery, it is okay. Give yourself time. Okay, what kind of energy is in my body on this day? And then for this last little bit of time, think of how you want to care for yourself today. And maybe even how you want to care for those around you if you have bandwidth, if you have the capacity to do so. And if you don't, no judgment, no self-judgment. Take care of yourself. What can you do? So eventually, just spending a little bit of time emerging from your stillness, if you were in stillness. Moving your body in any way that feels right. Maybe it's like a big stretch. Maybe it's a micro movement. Maybe it's a little self-soothing rocking. And eventually we will all meet in a seated position, or I don't know, maybe you want to keep laying down, especially if you're at home, who knows? And just getting there, and maybe just instead of like a formal kind of closing, I'll just sort of look at all of you and say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.